Good evening, wanderers of the forgotten paths. Welcome back to the shadow behind you, where the whispers of the past claw their way into the present, refusing to be silenced. I am your guide through these shadowed realms, the voice that unearths the tales buried deep in the earth's cold embrace. Tonight, we venture into a corner of history so obscured, so deliberately veiled that even the wind seems hesitant to carry its name. We speak of 1891, in the rugged heart of the Missouri Ozarks, a land where the hills rise like the spines of slumbering beasts and the rivers run dark with secrets unspoken. Imagine, if you will, the Ozarks as they were then, a labyrinth of mist-shrouded hollows, where dense forests of oak and hickory clawed at the sky, their branches twisted like arthritic fingers reaching for the moon. The air hung heavy with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, a perpetual autumn that never quite surrendered to winter. Settlements were sparse, mere clusters of log cabins huddled against the wilderness, lit by flickering kerosene lamps that cast long, wavering shadows. Here life was a tenuous bargain with nature, farmers scratching sustenance from rocky soil, miners delving into caves that swallowed men whole, and families bound by blood ties stronger than iron chains. But beneath this veneer of frontier grit lurked something older, something primal. Legends whispered around hearth fires spoke of spirits in the streams, curses woven into the wind, and bloodlines tainted by deeds too foul to name. Our story centers on two sisters, Mary and June Caldwell, daughters of a reclusive homesteader named Elias Caldwell. Mary, the elder at 22, was said to possess a beauty that could still a storm, hair like raven's wings, eyes the color of storm clouds brewing over the hills. June, her younger sibling by 4 years, was her mirror in fragility, with skin pale as moonlight and a voice that carried melodies from forgotten dreams. They lived in a weathered cabin atop Blackthorn Ridge, a place where the ground seemed to hum with unease, as if the earth itself remembered wounds inflicted long ago. But these sisters are not remembered in any ledger, any census, or any family Bible passed down through generations. They have been erased, scrubbed from history as cleanly as footprints washed away by rain. Why? That is the hook that draws you in, dear listener. What sinister secrets did they uncover, or perhaps unleash, that demanded their very existence be forgotten? As we delve into this tale, feel the chill seep into your bones. Picture the fog rolling in from the valleys, thick and opaque, muffling sounds until every rustle in the underbrush could be a footstep not of this world. Hear the distant call of whippoorwills, birds whose songs were once believed to summon death. In the Ozarks of 1891, superstition was not mere folly, it was survival. Folks spoke of hates, ghosts that wandered the woods, seeking vengeance for old wrongs. They told of witches who brewed potions from mountain herbs, cursing those who crossed them. And amid these tales, the Caldwell sisters emerged, or rather vanished, leaving behind only echoes in the archives of the arcane. Let me paint the scene more vividly. It was a time when the Civil War's scars still festered, though nearly 3 decades had passed. Missouri, a border state torn between Union and Confederate loyalties, bore the weight of brother against brother. In the Ozarks, vigilante groups like the Bald Nobers roamed, dispensing frontier justice under masks of secrecy. Law was a distant concept. Justice came from the barrel of a gun or the edge of a blade. Families like the Caldwells kept to themselves, guarding their plots of land with fierce isolation. Elias, their father, was a man hardened by loss. His wife, Abigail, had perished in childbirth with June, her final screams echoing through the cabin like a harbinger. He raised his daughters with tales of caution. Never stray from the path after dusk, never speak ill of the dead, and above all, never disturb the old stone markers hidden in the woods. But curiosity, that insidious temptress, has felled greater souls than these. Whispers from elders in nearby Leadville, a mining town where saloons buzzed with drunken revelations, hinted at a family curse. The Caldwells, it was said, descended from settlers who had displaced Cherokee tribes during the Trail of Tears, stealing not just land but sacred artifacts buried in the hills. Artifacts that pulsed with otherworldly power, binding the living to the restless dead. Mary and June, in their innocence or perhaps their desperation, stumbled upon this legacy. What began as a simple exploration of their father's forbidden attic spiraled into a nightmare that consumed them body and soul. As the night deepens around you, listener, imagine sitting by your own fire, the flames dancing shadows on the walls. Is that a creak in the floorboards, or merely the house settling? Or perhaps something else? Something that has followed you home from this tale. We are about to peel back the layers of time, revealing the sinister secrets that erased Mary and June from history. But beware, some stories are not meant to be told. They cling to you like mist to the skin long after the telling is done. Stay with me if you dare, as we step into the fog-shrouded past. And so we begin our descent into the heart of the darkness. Picture the year 1891, spring thawing into a humid summer in the Missouri Ozarks. The air is thick with the buzz of insects, the scent of blooming dogwoods mingling with the metallic tang of rain-soaked earth. Blackthorn Ridge looms like a sentinel, its slopes carpeted in ferns and wildflowers that hide treacherous drops into hidden ravines. Atop this ridge stands the Caldwell cabin, a squat structure of hand-hewn logs, its chimney puffing lazy smoke into the twilight sky. Inside, the flicker of a single lantern illuminates the sparse furnishings: a rough-hewn table, a cast-iron stove, and two narrow beds where Mary and June sleep side by side, their breaths sensing like the rhythm of a shared heartbeat. Elias Caldwell, their father, is a towering figure with a beard streaked gray, eyes sunken from years of toil. He spends his days tending a meager corn patch and hunting in the woods, his rifle always close at hand. But there's a shadow over him, a melancholy that deepens with each passing season. He rarely speaks of their mother, Abigail, whose portrait hangs crooked on the wall, her painted eyes following every movement in the room. "She watches over us," Elias would mutter, but his voice carried a tremor, as if he feared what those eyes might see. Mary, the elder sister, is the pillar of the household. Strong-willed and practical, she mends clothes by firelight, her fingers deft despite the caluses. Her beauty draws suitors from Leadville, but she rebuffs them all, her heart tethered to the ridge and her sister. June, delicate and dreamy, spends hours wandering the edges of the woods, collecting herbs and sketching the twisted trees in a leather-bound journal their mother left behind. She hums tunes that seem to come from nowhere, melodies that make the birds fall silent. The sisters are inseparable, bound by a love that borders on the obsessive. "We are two halves of one soul," Mary would say, pressing her forehead to June's in their secret ritual. It begins innocently enough, as these tales often do. One stormy evening in May, with thunder rumbling like the growl of a buried beast, Elias ventures into town for supplies. He warns the girls to bar the door, to ignore any knocks in the night. "The hills have ears," he says, his gaze lingering on the attic hatch. Left alone, the sisters huddle by the fire, the wind whistling through cracks in the walls. June, ever the curious one, confesses a dream that has plagued her, a vision of their mother, not dead but trapped in a mirror world, calling out from beneath the cabin. Intrigued and emboldened by the storm's fury, Mary suggests they explore the attic, a forbidden realm Elias has locked away since Abigail's death. With a hairpin and determination, they pry open the hatch, climbing into the dusty space where cobwebs drape like funeral veils. The air is stale, heavy with the scent of mold and forgotten paper. Amid trunks of old clothes and rusted tools, they find a hidden compartment in the floorboards. Inside lies a wooden box, carved with strange symbols, spirals and eyes that seem to watch them. Opening it reveals a collection of artifacts, a tarnished silver locket containing a lock of hair, yellowed letters tied with twine, and a small leather-wrapped bundle. Unwrapping it, they discover a stone idol no larger than a fist, etched with runes that pulse faintly in the lantern light. June gasps, her fingers tracing the cool surface. "It's warm," she whispers, though Mary feels only ice. The letters, penned in faded ink, speak of their great-grandfather, Jeremiah Caldwell, a settler who arrived in the Ozarks in the 1830s. He writes of discovering a Cherokee burial site during the forced removals, unearthing relics of power that promised prosperity but demanded a blood price. As they read aloud, the storm outside intensifies, lightning illuminating the attic in stark flashes. Words leap from the pages, curses, pacts with spirits, and a warning. The sisters must never know lest the shadow claim them both. Unbeknownst to them, this act awakens something. That night, as they descend and bar the attic once more, strange occurrences begin. A knock at the door, soft at first, then insistent. Mary peers through the window, seeing only swirling mist. June swears she hears their mother's voice in the wind, calling their names. Days pass, and Elias returns, oblivious at first. But the sisters are changed. Mary becomes restless, her dreams filled with visions of endless forests where trees bleed sap like blood. June grows paler, her sketches turning macabre, figures with hollow eyes lurking in the shadows. They hide the box in their room, poring over it in secret. The idol, they learn from the letters, is a binding stone, used by ancient tribes to trap vengeful spirits. Jeremiah had stolen it, invoking its power to enrich his land, but it required sacrifices, firstborn daughters, offered in rituals under the full moon. Tension builds as whispers spread through Leadville. Neighbors speak of lights on Blackthorn Ridge at midnight, eerie glows that dance like will-o'-the-wisps. Elias notices the changes in his daughters, Mary's sudden aversion to mirrors, June's habit of scratching symbols into the dirt. He confronts them, but they deny everything, their bond tightening like a noose. One evening, while Elias sleeps, the sisters venture into the woods, drawn by an inexplicable pull. The trees part before them, revealing an ancient stone circle hidden in a clearing, the very burial site Jeremiah desecrated. Here, the air shimmers with unnatural heat, the ground soft as if recently turned. June places the idol in the center, and a low hum fills the air. Visions assault them. Flashes of Cherokee shamans cursing the invaders, spirits rising from graves to drag settlers into the earth. Mary clutches June's hand, fear mingling with exhilaration. "We can break it," June murmurs, "or claim it." But as they flee back to the cabin, they hear footsteps behind them, soft, padding like bare feet on leaves. The hauntings escalate. Objects move on their own. Chairs scraping across the floor, the portrait of Abigail tilting as if to whisper secrets. Elias, sensing the disturbance, digs into his own past, revealing to the sisters fragments of truth. "Your mother didn't die in childbirth," he confesses one rain-lashed night. "She was taken by the shadow we brought upon ourselves." Abigail had discovered the box years ago, meddling with the idol in a bid to cure her barrenness after Mary's birth. It granted June, but at a cost. Abigail vanished one night, her screams echoing from the woods, her body never found. Horrified yet compelled, the sisters delve deeper. They experiment with the idol, chanting words from the letters under the moon's gaze. Power surges through them. Crops flourish overnight, ailments heal. But so do the omens. Animals flee the ridge, birds fall dead from the sky. And in the mirrors, reflections linger a second too long, eyes not their own staring back. As part eye draws to a close, the sisters stand on the precipice. Mary, the protector, urges caution. June, the dreamer, embraces the darkness. Little do they know, the shadow behind them is no metaphor. It's awakening, hungry for the bloodline that stole its rest. The Ozarks hold their breath, waiting for the storm to break. The veil thins further, listener, as we plunge into the abyss of Part 2. The summer of 1891 deepens in the Ozarks, the heat oppressive, pressing down like the weight of unspoken sins. Humidity clings to the skin, turning every breath into a labor, while cicadas scream from the trees in a ceaseless dirge. Blackthorn Ridge, once a sanctuary, now pulses with malice, the very ground seeming to shift underfoot, as if roots below writhe in agony. Mary and June, ensnared by the idol's allure, spiral into obsession. By day, they maintain a facade for Elias, tending chores with mechanical precision. But at night, they slip into the woods, the stone circle becoming their altar. June, her frailty transforming into ethereal strength, leads the rituals. She carves symbols into her palms, letting blood drip onto the idol, which absorbs it like parched soil. Visions come unbidden. Their ancestors' atrocities, Cherokee families driven from homes, sacred sites razed, spirits bound in rage. "We are the atonement," June whispers, her eyes glazing with fervor. Mary resists at first, haunted by doubts. She dreams of drowning in black waters, hands pulling her down, hands that feel like June's. Yet the power seduces her too. Wounds heal instantly. Whispers guide her to hidden springs of pure water. Elias grows suspicious, his health failing, as if the curse siphons his life. Coves rack his body, blood flecking his lips. He pleads with the sisters to destroy the box, but they hide it deeper, in a hollow tree near the circle. Conflict erupts when outsiders intrude. A young miner from Leadville, Thomas Hale, courts Mary, drawn by tales of her beauty. He arrives one evening, hat in hand, offering wildflowers. But as he speaks, the cabin shakes, a low tremor that rattles dishes. Thomas flees, later spreading rumors of witchery in the saloons. The bald nobbers, those masked vigilantes enforcing moral order, take notice. Whispers of sorcery reach their ears, fueling their zeal. One moonless night, the sisters perform their boldest ritual. June, trance-like, invokes the spirits, demanding they reveal Abigail's fate. The air thickens, wind whipping leaves into a vortex. Shadows coalesce into forms, spectral figures with hollow eyes, clad in tattered hides. They speak in tongues, but Mary understands Abigail is not dead but trapped between worlds, her soul the anchor holding the curse at bay. To free her, the sisters must offer themselves, or sever the bloodline entirely. Terror grips Mary as the spirits touch her, their fingers like ice shards. June laughs, embracing them, her body glowing faintly. But the ritual backfires. Elias, awakened by the commotion, stumbles into the woods. He finds them horror-etching his face. "What have you done?" he cries, lunging for the idol. In the chaos, June strikes him, not with intent, but in a haze of possession. Elias falls, blood pooling from his head, his eyes accusing even in death. Panic ensues. The sisters drag his body back to the cabin, burying it shallowly under the floorboards. Guilt fractures their bond. Mary weeps, blaming June, while June retreats into madness, murmuring to invisible presences. Hauntings intensify. Elias's voice echoes from the grave, pleading for release. Mirrors shatter spontaneously, shards reflecting fragmented horrors, faces twisted in agony, including their own future selves. Word spreads to Leadville. Thomas returns with a posse, including bald nobles in their horned masks. They storm the ridge, torches blazing. The sisters flee into the woods, the idol clutched to June's chest. Pursued through thorn-choked paths, they reach the stone circle. Here, the climax unfolds. June, cornered, proposes a final pact: merge their souls with the spirits, erasing their existence to appease the curse. Mary refuses, grappling for the idol. In the struggle, it shatters, unleashing a maelstrom. Shadows erupt, engulfing the posse. Men scream as tendrils drag them into the earth. Thomas vanishes in a swirl of mist, his cries fading. The sisters, at the epicenter, feel time unravel. Memories flicker: childhood laughter, mother's lullabies, father's stern warnings, all dissolving like ink in water. The world blurs, history rewriting itself. As dawn breaks, the ridge stands silent, the cabin abandoned, no trace of the Caldwells. But echoes linger. Travelers report whispers in the wind, sisters' names carried on breezes, graves unmarked stir at night. The erasure is complete, records altered supernaturally, names vanished from deeds and censuses. Yet in folklore, they persist as the vanishing sisters, a cautionary tale of meddling with the past. The narrative closes on a chilling note in the present. Hikers on Blackthorn Ridge find shattered stone fragments, warm to the touch. And sometimes, in mirrors, two faces stare back where one should be. Now, as the chill of the narrative settles upon us, let us step back into the dim corridors of history, where fact and legend intertwine like vines choking an ancient oak. The Missouri Ozarks of 1891 were not merely a backdrop but a living entity, steeped in a tapestry of cultural trauma, folklore, and unyielding wilderness. To understand the sinister secrets of Mary and June, we must unearth the soil from which their story sprouts, soil enriched by blood, displacement, and the supernatural beliefs that haunted the frontier. The Ozarks, a plateau of eroded mountains spanning Missouri, Arkansas, and beyond, were shaped by geological forces eons ago, but their human history is a saga of conflict. By 1891, the region was a patchwork of Anglo-American settlers, descendants of Scots, Irish immigrants who arrived in the early 1800s seeking cheap land. These hardy folk brought with them a baggage of superstitions from the Appalachian Hills. Tales of witches, omens, and signs from the natural world. Whippoorwills calling at dusk foretold death, black cats crossing paths invited misfortune. In this environment, the line between the mundane and the mystical blurred, especially in isolated hollows like Blackthorn Ridge. Central to our tale is the legacy of Native American displacement. The Cherokee, Osage, and other tribes once stewarded these lands, their cultures rich with spiritual practices tied to the earth. The Trail of Tears 1838-1839 forcibly removed thousands of Cherokee from their ancestral homes, a genocide that left psychic scars. Artifacts like our fictional binding stone, echo-real sacred objects, medicine bundles, effigy pipes, and burial mounds desecrated by settlers. Archaeological records from the Ozarks reveal plundered sites where Euro-Americans looted graves for relics, believing them to hold power or merely curiosities. Folklore persists of curses befalling those who disturbed these sites, stories of Indian ghosts haunting thieves, driving them mad or to early graves. Missouri's role in the Civil War amplified this unease. As a slave state that remained in the Union, it was riven by guerrilla warfare, bushwhackers and jayhawkers terrorizing communities. The Ozarks, with its rugged terrain, became a haven for outlaws and deserters. Post-war, groups like the Bold Nobles emerged in the 1880s, initially as vigilantes combating lawlessness, but devolving into tyrannical enforcers. Masked in goat skins with horns, they whipped, hanged, and intimidated, often targeting those deemed immoral or witch-like. In our story, their pursuit of the sisters mirrors real incidents, such as the 1887 lynching of suspected sorcerers in Taney County, where accusations of black magic justified mob violence. Culturally, the era was one of transition. Mining boomed in Leadville as inspired by real towns like Joplin, drawing immigrants and fueling saloons where tales were traded like currency. Women like Mary and June navigated a patriarchal world. Spinsterhood or early marriage were norms, but independence was suspect, often labeled as witchcraft. Ozark folklore abounds with witch women, herbalists who brewed remedies from sassafras and ginseng, but risked persecution if cures failed or envy arose. The sisters' herbal gatherings and rituals draw from this. Real accounts from the 1890s describe granny witches, who communed with spirits, using mirrors for scrying or stones for divination. Blending fact with folklore creates an eerie authenticity. Consider the Ozark howler, a cryptid beast said to roam the hills, its cry mimicking human screams, perhaps echoing the sister's mother's fate. Or the prevalence of haints, ghosts tied to unresolved grievances, much like the vengeful spirits in our tale. Historical texts, like Vance Randolph's Ozark Magic and Folklore, collected in the 1940s but rooted in 19th century traditions, document beliefs in blood curses and soul binding. Families whispered of vanishing kin, relatives erased from memory after meddling with the occult, their names struck from Bibles as if never born. Economically, the Ozarks were harsh. Famines, floods, and isolation bred desperation. Settlers like Elias turned to moonshining or subsistence farming, their lives punctuated by revivals where preachers railed against the devil in the woods. The full moon, central to our rituals, held sway in law, times when barriers between worlds thinned, inviting possessions. Yet, this context is unsettling because it reveals universal patterns, colonizers stealing not just land but spiritual heritage, then haunted by the echoes. In 1891, as America hurtled toward industrialization, the Ozarks clung to its primal soul, a reminder that progress cannot bury the past. Mary and June, fictional yet archetypal, embody the erased women of history, those lost to violence, madness, or oblivion. Their story warns that in disturbing the dead, we invite them to rewrite the living. As we linger in this historical mist, feel the weight of centuries pressing down. The Ozarks remember, even if records do not. And in that remembrance lies the true horror. Delving deeper, listener, into the abyssal layers of meaning, we confront the symbolic and psychological undercurrents that make the tale of Mary and June not just a ghost story, but a mirror to our own shadowed psyches. This narrative, woven from threads of erasure and curse, taps into universal fears: the terror of being forgotten, the horror of familial bonds twisted into chains, and the insidious pull of forbidden knowledge. Maintain your vigilance, for in analyzing these themes, we risk awakening echoes within ourselves. Symbolically, the binding stone represents the weight of inherited trauma. Like a family heirloom laced with poison, it embodies how past sins, colonial theft, generational abuse, bind descendants in cycles of retribution. The Ozarks' rugged landscape mirrors this: hills as barriers, caves as subconscious depths where secrets fester. Mary and June's erasure symbolizes cultural amnesia. Societies forget inconvenient histories, like the Trail of Tears, to absolve guilt. Yet, as Jungian archetypes suggest, the repressed returns, here as spirits demanding acknowledgement. The sisters' merged souls evoke the anima, the feminine shadow suppressed in patriarchal frontiers, erupting in vengeful power. Psychologically, the story explores sibling dynamics as a battleground of identity. Mary, the rational ego, clashes with June's aid-like impulsivity, their bond a Freudian fusion where love borders on destruction. Their rituals signify a descent into madness, akin to collective hysteria in isolated communities. Think Salem witch trials, where fear amplifies delusion. The mirror motif, with lingering reflections, draws from Lacan's mirror stage, the illusion of self-wholeness shattered, revealing fragmented psyches. In gazing at the idol, they confront the other, the colonized spirit mirroring settler guilt. Connecting to cultural trauma, the tale reflects America's haunted conscience. The Cherokee displacement parallels broader indigenous erasures, where vanishing narratives justified genocide. The bold Nobas embody mob psychology, enforcing conformity through terror, a theme resonant in McCarthyism or modern cancel culture. Human nature's dark side shines through curiosity as hubris, power as corruption. Like Icarus, the sisters fly too close to forbidden flames, their fall a caution against unchecked ambition. Thematically, universal fears of death and oblivion loom large. Erasure from history is existential horror. If no one remembers us, did we exist? This ties to cultural anxieties in 1891, an era of rapid change where rural traditions faced urban erasure. The supernatural elements blend folklore with psychology, suggesting hauntings as manifestations of guilt or PTSD. Common in post-Civil War Missouri, intellectually ominous, this exploration posits that stories like this serve as societal warnings: disturb the past at your peril. They connect to human nature's duality, creator and destroyer, victim and oppressor. In our tale, the sisters' fate underscores that bloodlines carry not just DNA, but karmic debt. As we ponder, ask yourself, what shadows lurk in your own lineage? The analysis leaves us haunted, for in understanding, we invite the darkness closer. As our journey through the mists of Blackthorn Ridge draws to its inexorable end, the echoes of Mary and June linger, faint yet insistent, like a breath on the nape of your neck. We have traversed the shadowed paths of 1891, unearthing a tale of sisters bound by blood and curse, their secrets so sinister that history itself conspired to forget them. But forgetting is a fragile illusion. The past, like roots beneath the soil, always finds a way to surface. Recall the cabin's creaking timbers, the idol's pulsing warmth, the spirit's hollow ice, images that now reside in your mind, ready to stir in the quiet hours. Mary and June, erased yet eternal, embody the ultimate horror: not death, but non-existence. Their story warns that some knowledge is a poison, seeping through generations, demanding payment in souls. Yet, a lingering question haunts us: were they victims of a curse, or architects of their own oblivion? Did the shadow claim them, or did they become the shadow? In the Ozarks, where fog obscures truth, answers dissolve like mist at dawn. Perhaps even now their whispers ride the wind, seeking new ears to infect. Thank you for joining me on The Shadow Behind You. Until next time, Watch the reflections in your mirrors closely. And remember, the shadow is always behind you, or is it?